What if the reason you keep saying, "I'll do it tomorrow," has nothing to do with laziness? What if the real problem is that your brain has quietly learned something far more dangerous? That comfort is safer than growth. That scrolling is easier than thinking. That watching someone else succeed feels better than risking your own failure. That 5 more minutes in bed is more attractive than becoming the person you keep promising you will become. And the terrifying part is this: you may not even realize you're losing, because comfort rarely destroys your life all at once. It doesn't usually arrive like a disaster. It arrives quietly. One skipped workout, one delayed decision, one more episode, one more hour on your phone, one more promise that tomorrow will be different. And then one day, you look at your life and realize something painful. You didn't choose this life in one big decision. You drifted into it through hundreds of tiny decisions that felt harmless at the time. And if that sentence hits something inside you, stay with me, because by the end of this, you may realize that the person you keep calling lazy might actually be someone who has trained their brain to avoid discomfort so consistently that discomfort now feels like danger. And once you understand why that happens, you can begin to reverse it. But first, you need to understand the question most people never ask. Why do you keep doing things you know are hurting your future? You know you should exercise. You know you should study. You know you should start the business. You know you should make the phone call. You know you should stop wasting your nights. You know exactly what needs to be done. And yet, somehow, when the moment arrives, your hand reaches for the phone. Your body stays in bed. Your mind suddenly becomes an expert at producing excuses. I'm tired. I'll do it later. I need to feel motivated first. I'm not ready. I'll start Monday. And for a few minutes, you feel relief. That is the trap the brain learns through consequences. When you avoid something uncomfortable, your discomfort goes down. And because the discomfort went down, your brain quietly records the behavior as a success. You felt anxious about making the call. You avoided the call. The anxiety disappeared. Your brain learned avoidance works. You felt overwhelmed by the workout. You skipped the workout. The pressure disappeared. Your brain learned escape works. You felt afraid to begin the project. You opened social media instead. The fear disappeared for a moment. Your brain learned distraction works. You may think you are choosing comfort, but eventually, comfort starts choosing for you. And this is where the first painful truth appears. You are not addicted to comfort because you are weak. You become addicted to comfort because your brain is incredibly good at repeating whatever gives it immediate relief. The problem is that immediate relief often comes with delayed pain. The 5 minutes you spend avoiding the work feel good now, but the guilt comes later. The missed opportunity comes later. The weaker body comes later. The smaller bank account comes later. The regret comes later. And the human brain has a weakness. It often values what feels good now more than what matters later. This is why a person can sincerely want a better life and still repeatedly choose the behavior that keeps them stuck. They are not choosing their future. They are choosing relief from the present. And maybe you know exactly what that feels like. You wake up with a plan. You feel motivated. You imagine the person you could become. Then the day gets difficult. Your energy drops, your mind whispers, you deserve a break. So you take the break, then another, then another. And suddenly, the day is gone. The strange thing is, rest is not the enemy. Comfort is not the enemy. Your brain needs recovery. Your body needs sleep. Your mind needs moments of peace. The danger begins when recovery becomes your permanent address, when a break becomes a lifestyle, when entertainment becomes your escape from every difficult emotion. When you no longer rest because you have worked hard, you rest because you are trying to avoid beginning. And here is the question that changes everything. Why does comfort become so powerful? Because your brain is designed to protect you from immediate threats, not to build your dream life. Thousands of years ago, avoiding effort could preserve energy. Avoiding unnecessary danger could keep you alive. Staying with what was familiar could protect you from the unknown. But your modern life has created a strange problem. Your ancient brain can now experience a difficult email, a workout, a business idea, a conversation, or a blank page, as if it were something dangerous. Your body may be sitting safely in a room, but your brain hears, this might be difficult. And suddenly it begins searching for escape. That is why you can spend 3 hours watching videos without feeling tired, but feel exhausted after 10 minutes of meaningful work. The activity is not always physically harder. It is emotionally harder. The work demands uncertainty. The phone offers certainty. The work demands patience. The phone offers immediate stimulation. The work asks you to risk failure. The phone allows you to feel entertained without being judged. And your brain naturally moves toward the easiest reward. This is where dopamine enters the story. Dopamine is often misunderstood. It is not simply the chemical of pleasure. It is deeply involved in motivation, anticipation, learning, and reward seeking. When your brain expects something rewarding, it begins pushing you toward it. The problem is that modern technology can offer rewards almost instantly. A notification, a message, a short video, a new image, a new headline, a new piece of information. Your brain keeps receiving tiny moments of novelty. And then you ask yourself to sit down and work on something that may not reward you for weeks, months, or years. Of course, the difficult task feels boring. You have trained your attention to expect fireworks every few seconds. Then you wonder why silence feels uncomfortable. You wonder why reading feels difficult. You wonder why your mind keeps searching for something else. But the good news is this: your brain is not permanently broken. It is adaptable. The same brain that learned to seek constant comfort can learn to tolerate discomfort again. But it begins with something most people avoid. You must stop asking, how do I feel? And start asking, what is the next action? Because feelings are powerful, but they are not always instructions. You may feel tired and still be capable of 10 minutes of work. You may feel afraid and still be capable of making the call. You may feel unmotivated and still be capable of taking one step. This is the difference between people who remain trapped and people who eventually change their lives. They stop waiting for the emotional permission to begin. They begin first. And then the emotion often follows. Think about a cold shower. Before the water touches you, your mind creates a story. It's going to be terrible. Maybe later. You don't need to do this. The discomfort is not even happening yet. but your brain is already reacting to the anticipation of it. Then you step in. The first few seconds feel intense, but something interesting happens. You discover that discomfort rises, and then it becomes manageable. This is a lesson that applies far beyond cold water. The fear of starting is often worse than the actual beginning. The first page is harder than the second. The first workout is harder than the 10th. The first sales call is harder than the 100th. The first honest conversation is harder than the conversation you have been avoiding for months. The mind exaggerates the pain of action because it wants to protect you from uncertainty. And every time you act despite that feeling, you teach your brain a new lesson. Discomfort is not danger. Effort is not punishment. Fear is not always a warning. Sometimes fear is simply the feeling of standing at the edge of a larger life. But why do intelligent people still remain trapped in comfort? Because intelligence does not protect you from self-deception. In fact, sometimes it makes self-deception easier. A clever mind can create sophisticated excuses. You can explain exactly why today is not the right day. You can analyze every possible problem. You can research for months. You can watch hundreds of videos about success. You can learn every strategy and still never take the first step. This is one of the most dangerous forms of procrastination. Productive-looking avoidance. You are not doing nothing. You are preparing, planning, researching, organizing, thinking. But the real question is simple. Are you moving closer to the result, or are you using preparation to avoid the possibility of failure? A person can spend years learning about fitness without ever becoming fit. Years studying business without starting one. Years reading about confidence without having one difficult conversation. Information feels like progress, but sometimes information is simply comfort wearing the clothes of ambition. And that is why action matters. Not perfect action, not massive action, small action. Because confidence is not usually the thing that comes before action. Confidence is often the thing that action creates. Imagine a person standing at the bottom of a mountain. They look up. The peak is covered in clouds. The distance is enormous. They feel overwhelmed, so they decide not to climb. But another person looks at the same mountain and asks a different question. Where is my next step? Not the entire mountain, not the final destination, just the next step. That person may eventually reach a place the first person never even approached. Your life works the same way. You do not need to solve your entire future today. You need to stop demanding that the entire path become visible before you take the first step. You do not need to feel ready. You need to become willing. Willing to be uncomfortable. Willing to be imperfect. Willing to look foolish. Willing to begin before your confidence arrives. Because the life you want is probably hidden behind a series of actions you keep postponing. And there is something else you need to understand. Comfort becomes dangerous when it begins changing your identity. At first you say, I skipped today. Then you say, I've been struggling lately. Then eventually you start saying, I'm just not disciplined. That sentence is not a description anymore. It becomes an identity. And once your brain accepts an identity, it begins searching for evidence to prove it. If you believe you are lazy, every missed opportunity becomes evidence. If you believe you are weak, every difficult moment becomes proof. If you believe you always quit, one bad day becomes a prediction of the future. But identity can work in the opposite direction. You do not need to suddenly become the most disciplined person alive. You can begin with a smaller identity. I am someone who keeps promises to myself. Then keep one small promise. I am someone who does difficult things even when I do not feel like it. Then do one difficult thing. I am someone who begins. Then begin. Your brain pays attention to what you repeatedly prove. Every action is a vote, not a final verdict, a vote. When you get up, instead of hitting snooze, you cast a vote. When you put the phone away and focus, you cast a vote. When you exercise, even though you are not in the mood, you cast a vote. When you fail and return the next day, you cast a vote. You may not transform overnight, but you are building evidence. And eventually, the evidence becomes identity. This is why one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is not, what do I want? Ask yourself, what would the person I want to become do next? Not next year, not someday, next. That question pulls your mind out of fantasy and into action. Because it is easy to imagine being successful. It is harder to behave like the person who earns success. The imagined future feels exciting. The daily process feels repetitive. And this brings us to another uncomfortable question. Why do so many people give up when they are actually closer than they think? Because progress is often invisible before it becomes obvious. A seed spends time underground before anyone sees a tree. A muscle becomes stronger through repeated stress, long before the mirror shows dramatic change. A skill develops through hundreds of awkward attempts before it looks effortless. The problem is that people often quit during the invisible phase. They work for 2 weeks and see no dramatic result. They study for a month and still feel behind. They build something for 6 months and nobody notices. So they conclude, this isn't working. But sometimes the process is working beneath the surface. The roots are growing where you cannot see them. Think about an airplane changing its direction by just a few degrees. At the beginning, the difference may seem invisible, but after enough distance, it can end up in an entirely different destination. Your daily habits work the same way. 1 hour of distraction does not ruin your life. 1 hour of focus does not transform it. But repeated over years, those hours become your destination. That is the terrifying power of small choices. They feel too small to matter until they have mattered for a very long time. And this is why you should never underestimate the day in front of you. You do not need to change your entire life today, but you can change the direction. You can make one decision that proves you are no longer completely controlled by comfort. Turn off the screen, open the document, take the walk, make the call, clean the room, study for 20 minutes, allot for the opportunity, say the truth, start the thing. Not because one action will magically solve everything, but because you are sending a message to your own brain. I am still in control. And that message matters because one of the deepest forms of suffering is not failure. It is the feeling that you are watching yourself repeatedly do things you promised you would stop doing. You know what you are capable of. You have glimpsed the person you could become, and yet you keep betraying your own potential for temporary comfort. That creates a painful kind of internal conflict. One part of you wants growth, another part wants safety. One part wants the future, another part wants the immediate reward. And every day, you are teaching one of those parts which one gets to lead. The question is, which one are you strengthening? Because the part of you that you feed becomes stronger. If you feed avoidance, avoidance grows. If you feed discipline, discipline grows. If you feed distraction, distraction becomes easier. If you feed focus, focus becomes easier. You are not waiting to become someone. You are practicing becoming someone every day, even now. The question is whether you are practicing the identity you want or the identity you are trying to escape. And perhaps you have been waiting for motivations. You keep thinking that one day you will wake up and suddenly feel different. You will feel powerful, focused, confident, ready. But motivation is not a reliable foundation. Motivation is a wave. It rises, it falls, it changes with sleep, stress, mood, hormones, circumstances, and countless things outside your control. Discipline is different. Discipline is not forcing yourself to feel motivated. Discipline is deciding that your behavior will not be completely controlled by your feelings. You can feel afraid and still act. You can feel tired and still do the minimum. You can feel uncertain and still take the next step. This does not mean you should ignore genuine exhaustion or destroy your health in the name of productivity. It means you stop confusing temporary resistance with a permanent limitation. Sometimes you need rest, and sometimes you are simply uncomfortable. Learning the difference is maturity. Your body may say, I need recovery. Your mind may say, I don't want to. Those are not the same message. The person who changes their life learns to recognize the difference. And here is where your relationship with comfort must change. You do not need to eliminate comfort. You need to stop worshiping it. Enjoy rest, enjoy entertainment, enjoy the quiet morning, enjoy the meal, enjoy the weekend. But do not allow comfort to become the only place where you feel safe. Because if you train yourself to avoid every uncomfortable experience, the world becomes smaller. You stop meeting new people. You stop taking risks. You stop learning. You stop challenging yourself. You stop becoming. And eventually, your comfort zone becomes a beautiful cage. The door is open, but you are afraid to walk through it. And the worst part is that nobody may be coming to rescue you. Not because nobody cares, but because some battles can only be fought from the inside. People can encourage you. They can inspire you. They can give you advice. They can open doors, but nobody can take the step for you. Nobody can build your discipline for you. Nobody can make the decision for you. Nobody can live your future for you. At some point, you must become the person who stops asking, who will save me? And starts asking, what am I willing to do? That question changes the entire psychology of your life, because comfort asks, what do I feel like doing? Growth asks, what matters enough to do anyway? Comfort asks, what is easiest? Growth asks, what will make me stronger? Comfort asks, what if I fail? Growth asks, what if I never try? And that final question may be the one you need to hear. What if the pain of staying the same eventually becomes greater than the pain of changing? There is a moment in many people's lives when they realize they have spent years protecting themselves from discomfort only to create a much deeper discomfort. The discomfort of regret, the discomfort of knowing they could have tried, The discomfort of watching someone else live the life they once imagined. The discomfort of realizing that fear was not protecting them. It was imprisoning them. And maybe you are closer to that moment than you think. Maybe the dream you keep postponing has been waiting quietly. Maybe the person you could become is not asking for a miracle. Maybe they are asking for one decision, one honest hour, one uncomfortable conversation, one day of keeping your word, then another, then another. You do not need to become fearless. You need to stop treating fear as your master. You do not need to become perfectly disciplined. You need to become slightly more disciplined than you were yesterday. You do not need to destroy your old life in one dramatic moment. You need to stop reinforcing the habits that keep rebuilding it. Start small, but start seriously. Put your phone somewhere you cannot reach without standing up. Make the first task of the day visible. Remove unnecessary friction from the habits you want. Add friction to the habits you want to reduce. Do not rely on willpower when you can change your environment. If the phone is beside your bed, you will be tempted. If the junk food is on the table, you will see it. If the work is hidden behind 10 steps of preparation, you will avoid beginning. Make the right action easier. Make the wrong action harder. Your environment is constantly whispering instructions to your brain. Choose what it whispers. And when you fail, because you will sometimes fail, do not turn one bad day into an identity. You missed the workout, return tomorrow. You wasted the evening, protect the next one. You broke your promise, make a smaller promise and keep it. The goal is not perfection. The goal is returning. A person who never falls is not necessarily strong. A strong person is someone who refuses to make falling a permanent address. You can lose a day without losing your life. You can make a mistake without becoming the mistake. You can be behind without being finished. You can have wasted years and still protect the years ahead. The past may explain you, but it does not own you. And I want you to imagine something. Imagine meeting yourself 10 years from now, not the fantasy version, the real version. The person who has lived with the consequences of your daily choices. What would they say? Would they thank you for the moments you chose discipline? Would they thank you for starting when you were afraid? Would they thank you for protecting your attention? Would they thank you for not giving up during the invisible phase? Or would they ask you a question that hurts? Why did you keep waiting? Why did you keep choosing temporary comfort over the life you said you wanted? Why did you keep believing you needed to feel ready? Why did you let a few minutes of pleasure steal hours from your future? You may not be able to answer, and that is why you still have time, because you are not meeting that future version of yourself yet. You are meeting them through your choices. Every morning, you are sending them something, a stronger body, a stronger mind, a new skill, a better life, or another apology. And the beautiful thing is that the next message is still yours to write. Maybe you have been calling yourself lazy for years. Maybe you have believed something is wrong with you. Maybe you have looked at other people and wondered why they can stay disciplined while you keep falling back into old habits. But listen carefully. You are not permanently broken. You are trained, and training can be changed. If you train your brain to reach for comfort, you can train it to tolerate effort. If you trained yourself to quit, you can train yourself to return. If you train yourself to avoid fear, you can train yourself to move with fear beside you. If you trained yourself to wait for motivation, you can train yourself to begin without it. The first few times will feel unnatural. Of course they will. You are building a new pattern, and new patterns feel uncomfortable because the old ones are familiar. But familiar does not mean healthy. A prison can become familiar. A bad habit can become familiar. A small life can become familiar. Your brain often prefers a familiar problem to an unfamiliar solution. So when you begin changing, a strange thing may happen. You may miss the old version of yourself. You may feel uncomfortable without the distractions. You may suddenly have to face emotions you used to escape. You may discover that the noise was protecting you from hearing your own thoughts. Do not run immediately. Sit with the discomfort. Ask what it is trying to teach you. Because beneath many distractions is an emotion avoiding, boredom, fear, loneliness, uncertainty, insecurity, grief. And sometimes the reason you keep reaching for comfort is not because you are lazy. It is because you are trying not to feel something. But avoidance does not make emotions disappear. It only gives them more power in the dark. When you face them, they become information. You can say, I am afraid, and still act. You can say, I feel overwhelmed, and still do one small thing. You can say, I do not know what I am doing, and still begin learning. You can say, I have wasted time, and still use the next minute. That is strength, not pretending everything is easy, not pretending you never struggle. Strength is looking at the struggle honestly and saying, you are allowed to be here, but you are not in charge. And now perhaps you understand the real battle. The battle is not between you and laziness. It is between the person you are becoming and the comfort that wants to keep you exactly where you are. Every day, one of them receives your attention. Every day, one of them becomes stronger. And the choice rarely arrives with dramatic music. It arrives when the alarm rings. When the phone is in your hand, when the workout is waiting, when the difficult task is open, when nobody is watching. That is where your future is being decided. Not in the motivational speech, not in the vision board, not in the moment when you feel inspired, in the ordinary moment when comfort says, later, and you quietly answer. Now, that one word can change the direction of a life, not because you will suddenly become perfect, but because you have finally stopped negotiating with every feeling. You have finally understood that your emotions can speak without being obeyed. You have finally realized that your future deserves more than whatever feels easiest today. And one day, if you keep making those small decisions, you will look back. You will remember the version of yourself who kept saying, tomorrow. You will remember the nights you wasted, the chances you avoided, the fear you obeyed, the comfort you worshiped, and you will realize something almost unbelievable. That person was never as powerless as they thought. They were simply waiting for permission. Permission to begin, permission to fail, permission to be imperfect, permission to become someone new. And the truth is, you do not need permission anymore. You do not need another video, another book, another perfect plan, another Monday, another sign. You know enough to take the next step, so take it. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when the fear disappears. Take it while your hands are shaking. Take it while your confidence is incomplete. Take it while nobody believes in you. Take it while the results are invisible. Because every great transformation begins in a moment that looks ordinary from the outside. A person simply decides they are done abandoning themselves. And maybe this is your moment. Maybe this is the moment you stop saying, I am lazy. Maybe the truth is more powerful. You are someone who has been practicing comfort. Now you can practice courage. You have been practicing avoidance. Now you can practice action. You have been practicing quitting. Now you can practice returning. You have been practicing becoming the person you do not want to be. Now you can begin becoming the person you have always known was somewhere inside you. And no, it will not be easy, but easy was never the promise. The promise is that every time you choose the difficult thing that matters, you become a little harder to control, a little harder to distract, a little harder to defeat, a little more free. And maybe freedom is not the absence of difficulty. Maybe freedom is the ability to choose what matters, even when difficulty appears. So when comfort calls your name tonight, when your mind says, just one more hour, when fear says, wait, when doubt says, you are not ready, when the old version of you whispers, this is who you are, pause, take a breath, and remember, you are not required to feel powerful before you act. You are not required to feel confident before you begin. You are not required to know exactly how the story ends. You only need enough courage for the next sentence, the next step, the next decision, and then another, because your life is not changed by the person you promised to become someday. It is changed by the person you practice being when nobody is watching. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop expecting motivation to rescue you. Stop calling yourself lazy when what you may really be is overtrained in escape. You can retrain yourself. You can rebuild your attention. You can strengthen your discipline. You can change your identity. You can become comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the moment you do, the world begins to open again. The dream gets closer. The fear gets smaller. The future becomes possible, not because life suddenly became easier, but because you finally became stronger than the comfort that was keeping you small. And one day, you will stand in a life that once felt impossible. You will look at the body you built, the work you created, the skills you learned, the relationships you protected, the opportunities you finally took, and you will understand that your greatest victory was not that you became someone extraordinary overnight. It was that on ordinary days, when nobody was applauding, when the result was invisible, when comfort was calling, you chose not to abandon yourself. That is how a life changes. One decision, one uncomfortable moment, one promise kept, again and again and again, until the person you once dreamed about becoming is no longer a dream. They are standing where you are standing, because the future does not usually arrive in one dramatic moment. It is built quietly in the moments when you could have chosen comfort. One chose yourself instead. And remember this for the rest of your life. Comfort will always offer you a reason to stay the same, but your future is waiting for the moment you finally decide that staying the same hurts more than becoming new.